A federal judge will hear arguments today after 14 states asked to block Elon Musk's DOGE from accessing federal data. Now, it's one of the latest attempts from Democrats to fight President Trump's agenda in court.
We're winning in court. More than a dozen federal injunctions and temporary restraining orders have been issued against everything from their illegal seizure of computer data and every American's private data at the Treasury Department to their illegal attempt to ban birthright citizenship.
Number one, you know the Constitution. You know they can't just freeze these funds.
And we're going to continue to work together in an all-hands-on-deck effort to push back against the far-right extremism that is being unleashed on this country.
Well, who better to talk to than Fox News legal analyst Gregg Jarrett, who joins me now. Greg, I want to read to you a passage I found from New Mexico versus Elon Musk. And it's quite extraordinary in the hyperbole. Listen to this. Although our constitutional system was designed to prevent the abuses of an 18th century monarch, the instruments of unchecked power are no less dangerous in the hands of a 21st century tech baron. So they're comparing this to British colonialism.
The meltdown, as Steve described it, Kayleigh, is amusing. Because presidents have broad authority under Article 2 of the Constitution to govern and control agencies and departments in the executive branch, how much money is spent, hiring, firing, auditing for fraud, waste, and abuse. So Trump is exercising a core responsibility. He's serving the public's interest. That's his solemn duty. The legal question becomes, can he delegate that power to Musk and DOGE? Democrats who have sued say, oh, you can't do that. He wasn't Senate confirmed under the appointments clause. That's nonsense. There's a large body of law that says the president absolutely can, on his own, without the Senate, confer administrative powers to others like DOGE. So these early setbacks in various lower courts, that was expected. Trump knew that, liberals would go running and crying to favorable judges. Oh, gee whiz, he's stopping our fraud and waste. We want that to continue. Ultimately, I think the Supreme Court will weigh in, and that's where Trump will prevail. The law is on his side.
So you believe that if it does make it to the Supreme Court, conservative originalist judges like Thomas Alito will say nonsense. That's not the way the appointments clause works. No need to get congressional approval for DOGE.
The law's on their side. Plus, when you're serving in the public interest and the public is in favor of it, that's something that I think the Supreme Court recognizes. Steve mentioned it. CBS poll found 70% agree that the president is doing what he promised. A majority approve of it. It was a key part of his mandate. Democrats here are picking the wrong battle. What person in their right mind wants to continue billions of taxpayer dollars squandered on waste and fraud? But they are so reflexively against anything that Trump does. Their lawsuits make them look like they favor financial abuse. What DOGE and Musk have uncovered so far is really shocking Americans. 20% of government spending is wasted, billions in misplaced funds. Americans, I think, are fed up with this, and Trump is moving in their direction. And the Supreme Court, I think, is not oblivious to that.
So speaking of the Supreme Court, we finally have the first case that they will hear. This happened overnight. And here's what happened. So Trump is asking the Supreme Court to allow him to fire this independent agency leader. He's at the office of the special counsel. His name is Hampton Dellinger. And the argument from the Solicitor General is this: until now, as far as we are aware, no court in American history has wielded an injunction to force the president to retain an agency head. Are you bullish on his prospects with SCOTUS on this one?
Again, the law is on the president's side. Dellinger is a political appointee by Joe Biden. I'll compare it to U.S. attorneys, political appointees. They can be fired by the incoming president. They don't have civil service protections, which, by the way, have a myriad of exceptions associated with them. Look, our federal bureaucracy, Kayleigh, is the definition of bloated. Isn't it about time that a president had the courage to put the government on an Ozempic diet. There are too many inept bureaucrats doing too little. It's excessive. It's inefficient. No business could run that way. In cutting, for example, last Friday, 400 DHS workers, my goodness, that's a savings of $50 million. And trimming all these other swollen agencies, that's going to save billions of dollars. Legally, Trump has immense authority to do this.
Putting the government on an Ozempic diet. That may be the quote of the day. Gregg Jarrett, I like that.